In this video, I'll show you how to collect custom text logs from a Linux virtual machine using data collection rules in Azure. So what we are building is we will take a simple log file from a Linux VM and then send it to log analytics using Azure Monitor. So we'll have the simple 5 steps. We are going to provision a log analytics workspace, which is like a data store for all our data, and then we'll have the Linux VM from where the custom text logs will be picked up, right? And then we'll install the agent on the VM that is going to collect the data from the VM and then send it to the DCR and the workspace. Next we'll have is the data collection endpoint, which serves as the point from where the agent is going to send the data to, and that is necessary whenever we are going to send the custom logs, right? And finally in the DCR we are going to create and specify from which path we are going to pick up the logs and create a custom table and send it to the workspace. And then we'll generate logs and see live how our data is being ingested. We'll head over to the Azure portal. In the Azure portal we'll create first log analytics workspace and give the name custom log logs, and I'll choose the region Central India. Next go to tags and then review and create. Alright, so workspace is created. Next step is to create a Linux virtual machine. So we'll fill up the information, the virtual machine name, and fill up the rest of the information. We'll have the SSH22 port open to the VM, next disk. So we'll have the standard HDD as a storage type, and then next networking. We'll have the public IP enabled so that we can access to the virtual machine, and then rest we can leave as it is. And next management, and then next monitoring. We'll disable boot diagnostics and review and create. So we have the workspace now created and the Linux VM is in the process. Next is we are going to create a data collection endpoint. So we'll go back and then search data collection endpoint or DCE, right? Then create, and we'll give the name custom log DCE, and the subscription and resource group and the region same as our other resources. Next tag and create. And next we are going to create is a custom table. For that we'll go to workspace, and in the workspace we have the section and the table, and then give the name app logs, and whatever name we'll give underscore cl will get appended to this name, that means custom logs. And then we'll stick to the analytics and then data collection rule. We'll click on new, and then we'll give the subscription resource group region. We'll select same as our workspace and then the name. So now we'll click on done, and endpoint we already created, custom log DCE. Click on next, and in the schema and transformation we'll specify how our data getting ingested from the virtual machine is going to be. So we are basically giving the layout of our logs, how the data will come into the workspace. So for that I'll use this data, that is raw data, and the value is information and then the log, right? So this is how our data from the machine is going to get picked up. Now we need to upload this log file in here, and also one other column was added to this particular data. So you can see the time generated automatically got added, which is by default it needs to be there. So we'll click on next and then create. So what we have now is the workspace and a virtual machine, Linux VM with Azure Monitor agent installed. We have the data collection endpoint and the custom table and the data collection rule as well. Now we'll modify the details in the data collection rule so that the agent from the virtual machine picks up the logs from this particular path and then store the data in the workspace. Now we'll go to the data collection rule and select the one which we created, and we have the data sources here. In here you can see we have the custom app log CL that got created automatically when we added the table in the workspace, right? And then we'll go to resources, and under resources we'll add our Linux virtual machine. And when we add the virtual machine to this data collection rule, agent gets installed automatically. That is going to pick the data and then send to the destination. And now in the data sources, we'll add our path from where we want to collect the log. So in the data sources, we'll click on add and select a data type as custom text logs and the file path pattern where our log file is. So I'll give the var log custom app.log, and then the table where we want our data to get stored in the workspace, and we'll leave as it is, and then next destination will add our workspace, right, and then add data source. We have our Linux machine from where we are going to pick the data, and the data source also, that is from which path we want to collect it. And now the next thing is to we'll log into our virtual machine and then create this particular path where our log file is, and then put some data manually so that agent can collect and send that to the workspace. So I've already gave the host name. We'll use the IP and the username and password. Now let's connect. So I'm connected to the virtual machine, and now I'm going to create the path where we are going to collect the logs from. I'm going to create a directory named custom, and then so I've created the file with the name app.log, and then I will paste some real information. Right, so you can see I pasted some log information that is for the testing, and the essence is that we have this path where our application write the important logs that we want to see if troubleshooting or to see any issues with our application, right, from the workspace. And I'll save this file, and also some random data to this particular file. So now let's see if this information comes up to the workspace. So now our entire pipeline is created. We have everything in there, and now how we can see those logs in the workspace. Also we'll query our log. For that we'll go to the workspace. Now to check the logs, the next step is go to the tables and then copy the table name, that is app logs underscore CL, right? And then go to the logs, and then from simple we'll change to KQL, that is Gusto query, and then run. You can see that our data is being ingested, right, and all our data we can see correctly from here. So this all data we pasted in the machine, and this one we manually passed it from the terminal, and that is also getting reflected. If we verify Linux live log, we'll go to the machine, and you can see we ran the command to see the Linux live log, and we'll run other commands. Our data gets ingested and we can see there, and then we'll pass another one. We are basically putting this data in our log file, and now let's see if latency detected and the API failure comes up in the machine. So we'll wait for a few minutes and then run again. So after a minute you can see our data is ingested, that is we can see the high latency and the Linux API failure also, and it took around 1 minute for the data to get reflected. And we can also filter it down by running KQL queries, sort by time generated, right? And also we can query by filtering out a specific word. So in this case we are checking for anything that contain errors. Now we are only seeing the one which has error in the log, and similarly if you want to check for warning, so we'll change to warn, right, and we are seeing only warning. So this is how we can query the data. And app logs under CL is the table where the data is getting ingested, and pipe from where raw data contains, that is we are specifying that we want to see wherever in the logs we have warning. So this is how we can ingest the custom logs from the virtual machine. Like if our application is writing logs to a specific file, we can get that ingested from the virtual machine using DCR. Hit a like and subscribe if you like this video, and see you in the next one.